Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
And I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to get back to our roots here. Well, not your roots, but at least my root. Well, I guess it's not my roots either because I'm from Arkansas and you're
Oh
from
my God.
the fucking Philippines. But we're going to get back to where we are now, to the Pacific Northwest, and kind of an interesting story I haven't heard of previous to finding this video, and it's very interesting. It's very paranormal, and I think people need to hear about this because it's
Oh,
pretty interesting.
okay, I'm looking forward to to watching this video. Sorry, I
I
keep
I didn't want to give too much away because this is kind of a weird deal. Honestly, there's a lot of different claims made about this particular story.
it's just I'm being triggered by the name somehow. My like almost like a 13-year-old self is being triggered by the name. But
Well,
here,
that's what
here
she said,
here goes. Here goes.
and she's hot.
Bottomless pit that brings things back from the dead, a mysterious government cover up, and a man who vanished after revealing it all on late night radio. No, this isn't the plot of a sci fi movie. This is the legend of Mel's Hole.
Ah, I don't need to say it.
Hello, friends. I'm Katie O'Laughlin, aka Madame Macabre, and welcome back to the Folklore Files, where I dig deep into creepy legends, haunted places, and all the things that go bump in the night. Today we'll be holding up a magnifying glass to my home state. Bumping shoulders with Canada, we're headed straight into the evergreen of Washington State. Now, it's totally possible that I'm biased here, but I have to say, this has got to be one of the weirdest folk legends I have ever heard. I am talking about Mel's Hole, a mysterious, supposedly bottomless pit out in the rolling hills of Ellensburg, Washington. The legend includes tales of impossible ice, undead dogs, and government agencies swooping in to shut things down faster than Agent Smith from The Matrix. So, fasten your tinfoil hats, friends, because this story is going straight down the rabbit hole.
About
Legend
time.
is born.
On February 21st, 1997, a man calling himself Mel Waters phoned into the local late-night paranormal radio show Coast to Coast AM with Art.
Oh, that's an awesome show,
The
by
show
the way.
hailed from the time long before streaming existed, so if you wanted your fix of eerie entertainment, turning to local radio shows such as this was often your answer. And boy, did Coast to Coast deliver. This show was a veritable treasure trove for enjoyers of all things weird. Ghosts, aliens, conspiracy theories, you name it, they covered it. But even Coast to Coast was thrown for a loop by Mel's story. You see, Mel said that he lived on the outskirts of a little town called Ellensburg, Washington, way out in the sticks, and he claimed that somewhere out in his rural property was a most peculiar hole in the ground. At first glance, this was nothing special. There was no fence blocking it off, no warning signs of danger. Heck, there wasn't even anything interesting to look at. But what made this hole of such particular interest, according to Mel, was that it was bottomless.
Rest in peace, Mel. You would have loved podcasts. In all seriousness, though, this story goes so much deeper, pun intended, than a bottomless pit.
All right. Yeah. So, I appreciate what she's doing there. I get that. Actually, I'm not sure where Ellensburg. It seems like Eastern Washington. Maybe we should give some context to that, producer.
Yeah.
I think it's Eastern Washington. I think I may have been there a long time ago when I was younger on a delivery driving route out in that particular area. And yeah, but I'm surprised I have not heard of Mel's Bottoms or Mel's Bottom, because
Mel's Hole.
Mel's Hole. So yeah. Sorry, I was listening to her too much about bottoms.
So
Yeah.
so real quick,
Right.
Ellensburg appears to be in the like smack dab in the middle of the Washington state, just north.
Okay, so it's like near Yakima.
It's north of Yakima.
Yeah, so in the middle of Washington State, basically
Yeah.
smack dab in it. Yeah, and then that is, and what they're showing there, and I know you can't see it, but if you look at photos of Central Oregon, Central Washington, there's a lot of similarities with some of the stuff they're seeing there. It's like the high desert areas of those two states. And so it's past the Cascades, east of the Cascades, and it's a beautiful country, honestly, if you ever get the chance to go there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see where they go or where she goes with this one.
All right. We're restarting the video, and the title of this section is Impossible Depths.
According to Mel, that hole had been there for decades, even before he owned the land himself. Apparently, locals had used it as a dumping ground of sorts for all means of garbage for years. They tossed any manner of things inside, old appliances, junk, even the occasional dead livestock. But no matter how they filled it over the years, it never truly filled up. Oddly enough, they always said that anything that went inside never made a sound. No splash, no thud, just complete silence. And so people began whispering about it simply being bottomless.
In time, Mel bought the property, and folks stopped going out there, but the stories persisted. Naturally, Mel caught wind of this strange, apparently bottomless pit he had inherited with his property and wanted to see for himself. And so, Mel took it upon himself to do a little experiment. He was going to measure the pit and see if it truly was bottomless. So, being an avid outdoorsman and fisherman, Mel used what he already had plenty of at hand: fishing line tied to a rock. And then he lowered it in. And he lowered it, and lowered it, and kept on lowering it. By his account, he dropped over 80,000 feet, or over 15 miles, and the dang thing still never hit bottom.
I mean, maybe. It's possible. That seems like bullshit right there. Like, just that by itself. Like, it. Regardless, again, if you're a YouTube watcher or listener, or a podcast listener, it's like the person's using a fishing pot, a rod to like dangle 80,000 feet. Come on, that has to be like unimaginably big to be able to do that. So just that by itself seems a little strange. So, was it maybe, could you do like 5,000 feet? Yeah, I can see that happening, but there's no way in hell 80,000 feet of fishing line. I mean, could you imagine how big of a spool that would be?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't fish, so I can't say for sure, but yes, I kind of could imagine that that would have been a huge ass spool of fishing wire. All right, let's continue here.
It's a red flag to start with there.
Mel. All right, here we go.
Come on, Mel.
Sound a little fishy? It should. As far as I'm aware, the deepest hole ever drilled on Earth is the Kola Super Deep borehole in Russia. They had to stop drilling because the bits kept melting, and even then,
on the same.
Only went about 40,000 feet. So, either Mel stumbled across the greatest geographical find of the millennium, or something far stranger was going on.
Defying natural law.
Strange was just the beginning of it. You see, Mel claimed that in addition to impossible depths, the hole also had supernatural properties. He told Art Bell on Coast to Coast of a harrowing encounter a neighbor relayed to him. Apparently, the man claimed that once he had tossed his recently deceased hunting dog down into the pit. Later, the man claimed to have seen that same dog, alive and well. It was wandering the woods nearby. This understandably shocked the man. Not sure what else to do, he called for the dog. However, the dog would not come when called. It simply stared at him before slinking away into the woods, never to be seen again.
Not that I can blame the dog, because same. What do you mean your dog died and your first thought is to chuck it in the creepy bottomless pit? Pet cemetery shenanigans aside, rude. But no, we're not done yet. Oh no. Then there's the ice story.
Mel said that the more time he spent around the pit, the more curious he got. He began to try various experiments with it. He spoke of how one time he decided to lower a bucket of ice into the hole to see what would happen. All went well as he was lowering it down.
Again,
but apparently, when he pulled it back up, the ice was on fire. No, I don't mean it had melted. It was burning. Mel said it was lit up with an eerie blue flame that went out a few moments after being removed from the hole. Yet again, Mel claimed to have stumbled across another anomaly with this pit that seemed to defy science itself. Something like this was sure to make waves, and according to Mel, unfortunately, it did.
So that's kind of interesting. That the dipping of the ice into the hole seems to me the most interesting one. Is that comes out of fire. Was it some sort of a natural thing that involves some sort of natural gas or oil or something like that? That I don't know why it would come back on fire. I mean, it's something I don't know. It's like we don't know a lot about exactly what this guy did, Mel, other than to like sort of dip his ass into different holes. But that's an interesting. But that was an interesting thing to me. It's like I don't know about the dog, and that seems like a bunch of bullshit. Although, unless you look at it as like a portal of some kind, possibly like the dog went in and it came out, it was the opposite. It was a black hole. Obviously not, but there's a lot of different ways you can go with that. But the sort of the natural, like dipping something in and it comes out on fire. I don't know. For some reason, it seems like not crazy to me.
Well, first of all,
or the least craziest part of the story.
Well, I mean, first of all, there's no witnesses. So these are all accounts of one man. And honestly, with regard to the dog, I mean, if it was just a similar looking dog or even identical looking dog, I mean, I can't tell sometimes between one black Labrador over another black Labrador, right? So,
just got another dog.
The fact that it did not respond to the name, it's a different freaking dog. It
wasn't
probably going there going, why is this guy calling me by a different name or whatever, right? Jeez. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the next part. Big Brother steps in.
Not long after Mel claims he went public about his findings, things got even more suspicious. Mel said that the US government stepped in and actually seized his property. He was apparently approached by men in black suits and told he could no longer access the area due to national security.
He was allegedly offered a large payout and told to quietly leave the country. And according to Mel, that's exactly what he did. At least for a time. He packed up and moved to Australia before eventually resurfacing years later back in America with an even stranger update.
A second hole?
That's right. Apparently Mel had inadvertently stumbled across yet another strange hole. Weird that he found two. This time deep in Nevada on property owned by the Basque people. This one, he said, was being actively used by the military. Apparently they were conducting strange experiments, unusual activity, black helicopters, the whole 9 yards.
And shortly after this, Mel completely fell off the radar, never making another strange claim. Suspicious? Yes. But also, I'm sure you can't help but start to feel as though some cracks are beginning to show, no?
I mean, yeah, duh. I mean, it's like, so what it sounds like is they bribed him to leave the country. He came back and he found another hole.
Or so hole. He says. I mean,
allegedly. Yeah. What I like is about this is it does seem like it's some sort of con artist who maybe conned the government into some of this stuff. It's like, hey, this is, I got some like burning ice out of here. This is clearly like some oil or natural gas. Oh, I found another hole. But why did they pay him to go away? I guess that's the only thing is like, that doesn't make any sense. Like they paid him.
Again,
right?
This is
allegedly
yeah.
paid. paid him to do any of this kind of stuff. It's a fantastic story, and it does belong in Central Washington in like the Northwest, where like you can't like prove or disprove any of the stuff.
No, not when I mean in the middle of freaking no, in the middle of the freaking state and in the sticks, so to speak.
It
All
is.
right, let's continue here.
Yeah.
And the title in this section is Debunking the Mystery.
Now, at this point, you're probably shaking your head at the screen saying, Katie, this is a lot, even for me. Are you sure there was ever any proof Mel's hole existed in the first place? Short answer? No, absolutely not. Comically so.
There's no official record of Mel Waters ever owning land near Ellensburg. No photos, no coordinates, no deeds, nothing. And as far as the hole, well, geologists say a pit that deep is quite literally geologically impossible. Such a thing would collapse under its own weight. Military units are regularly spotted out in rural Ellensburg, keeping an air of secrecy that could easily fuel such speculations. But the truth is, there's a military base in the area, and the rolling hillsides of the region are frequently used for training operations. Overall, skeptics believe the story was a complete hoax, or even a creative radio stunt. Although, that being said, a lack of proof hasn't stopped some people from still believing, especially the students of Ellensburg's Central Washington University. Tales of Mel's Hole have long been a thrilling talking point with excitable new students moving into the area. Many even claim to have been there and seen it themselves.
Okay, so I agree with a lot of what she just said there. Is like, it feels like an urban legend a little bit, and we sort of look at some of that stuff on the show as well. It's like, is there any kind of truth, or is it just like BS? However, I do, we live in the area, and there's a lot of similarities in Central Washington, and Central Oregon, and places that have caves and things that go on. Do I believe that Mel's Hole is has all the characteristics of what was described? Probably not, but I do believe that there's stories and things that do go along with it. Like there's ice caves around Mount Adams. There's ice caves around even Mount St. Helens and Mount Hood. And it's like there's these things that do exist that are very kind of weird and you wouldn't expect, right? Especially in the Pacific Northwest, because they don't have that kind of stuff anywhere else. So you're not going to find maybe the Rockies in that area, but you're not going to find that in the Midwest or anywhere east of the Mississippi, right? You're not gonna, probably not. Maybe there is in the Appalachians and some of those areas, but there's a lot of weird shit that happens up in this area in some of the mountains. So I can see that becoming like an interesting story. Do I discount everything within that story? No, because we don't know. We don't have the ability to know all the stuff. Do I believe that probably 95% of it's bullshit? Yes. But it's a fact. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we love. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that we want. It's like, the unknown. It's like, is it real? Maybe some of it. Maybe there's some smoke where there's fire.
It's definitely tough. Yes, there's a lot of, especially the way the information is being presented in the video. There's a lot of it that does ring like it's BS, right? And that does ring like it was a hoax. I mean, it's one thing to if it were well, it's difficult to characterize Mel, right? Because first of all, I don't know him. I don't know enough about. I don't know if I could really even find information on the interwebs that would be accurate, right? And but if it were all true, calling into a radio station is probably not going to be the first thing I would do. You know what I mean? So it's like, however, although there's not enough information, maybe he did approach government agencies and then they really didn't give him the time of day. And so kind of like out of desperation, called into the radio, a radio station that would listen to his story, right? But also, again, this is rural Washington, or I don't know if that's actually a good characterization of Ellensburg, but
It's rural Washington.
it is
Yeah.
okay. So it's in rural,
Yeah.
it's rural Washington. And it does sound like Mel's former property, if he did own property, was far from quote unquote civilization, right? At that point. So, and maybe that kind of isolation kind of ate into his psyche, unknowingly, and he started imagining these things, and but then there's 5% of me. I don't know if I wasn't doing math, but the 5% of me is also kind of thinking there's a lot that we don't know. There's still a lot that we don't know, right? So
even our own oceans and our own atmosphere and our own land that we don't know, right? You're absolutely right. And
there's so much, and this is a huge freaking country. There's so much that even though we know, I think a lot of people can claim that we've surveyed every inch of this country. I don't think so. So
no, there's areas in this more on the West Coast and in the Pacific Northwest, to be honest, at California, even Nevada, like Utah, places like that, where there's no motherfuckers going out there to do anything. Like there's nobody going out to investigate shit. Like unless it's Area 51 or some military bases. Like we got to understand that we have really not even in today's world investigated the full measure of what we have on our land. It's like why would you go out there? It's like it's a fucking disaster area, desert, like a desert. Like you don't want to go out there. You're gonna die. People have died on the way to the Pacific Northwest. So, I think that are some of the stories real? I don't know. Is there an area where Mel found? Allegedly Mel found it was like a fucking weird fucking hole in the ground. I believe that absolutely. There's some weird shit out there that we haven't seen, and I'm not like a spelunker, or is that what they call cave divers or whatever? Like I ain't going down that shit. Fuck that. Ever. I'm never going down there. And imagine if you did. Some of the stuff, and maybe we'll do an episode on that. It's like some of the weird stuff that they found down there. It's like, who knows?
If you did crawl down Mel's hole, hang on. If you did, would you end up in China? I mean, I think that's the other question here.
Yeah,
dive into.
It's a journey to the center of the earth, right? Who knows?
I tell you what, though, if Mel were still alive, he might find more holes, but we will never know.
He would.
Well, folks, if you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.